Okay, let's get this started. Hello all, new Mr. Jones, Duke Soft, Rambling Geek. How's it going? But not to eat on stream, so when I've got something to eat right before stream, I choose wolfing it down and eating late. Okay, so I got a notification yesterday. My UPS delivery is delayed until tomorrow, so I will not have my new Stream Deck and XLR dock until tomorrow. Which sadness. I'm actually looking forward to it because I think I can remove the mixer off my desk if I get it all right. Maybe get my sound and stuff coming through the Scarlett, which will give me much more space on my desk. I'm working on Microsoft Reports and I have a love-hate relationship with it. Yes, I can imagine so. Okay, so yesterday we did T94. We decided that we would make the notifications send a command, and that command would actually be received by the view. We don't need to worry about who's receiving the command when we send the command. That's one of the beauties of this system, right? So if we were working in independent teams, a group could be working on notifications, and as long as the conversations happen, oh, we need to tell you about this stuff. Okay, you can send us a command, or you can publish data. All the interactions with this system can be mocked, right? It's kind of like massive inversion of control or dependency inversion, right? Where we do not need to know about the specifics of any of these other things. We just need to know that these things are going to happen and tell us things. So when we're building a system independently, we can build its data, we can build its state off imaginary messages, and everything just works. It is one of the major benefits of not having that internet interconnectivity. And the moment you go to, and there is one part of this system so far that uses HTTP client, right? The moment you go to do that, you actually tie their existences together, right? I mean, yes, you can use poly, you can use retries, you can use all sorts of stuff so that if the system isn't available, but you've actually hard tied it to an API to it. So HTTP communication between these things, again, is still challenging. So what we're going to do today is deal with the command here and then build a GraphQL view that will allow me to see notifications. The one downside to it is if that data is not available, and I say, let's say, I mean, I haven't done it yet, but let's say that I want to say push, alert the client immediately, right? Not just push it into their inbox, but alert them immediately. I might not have all the information available. But then I started thinking through all the scenarios where I actually get a push notification that tells me something's happened, and I click it and nothing's there. And it made me realize that that's probably that exact problem that I'm seeing. I clicked a notification and nothing's actually attached to it. Now, sometimes that's because it's late, but sometimes I've clicked it and it's just not ready yet. The information isn't there for it, and you don't get the actual data because they push the notification to you when they can, and there's nothing attached. So I think that's what's happening there. So maybe I can proceed with that. I mean, ideal world, the system's intact, right? That's what I'm betting on. But it is a possibility. So T94, is merged, I believe. Yes. So we can move that to done, right? From a productive week. And we are going to focus on, oh yes, so we're going to focus on the two sides of this. In the name of the street, in the name of making progress on the stream, I'm going to make this one, but I'm not sure. Actually, this is a slice. It's the same project, right? So it's not the same project. It's two separate projects. The view and the client are not the same project. I'm just debating on, and again, for the purpose of the stream, I'm going to do it as one. But if this was real, consuming these events and creating the storage for it and displaying it on the client would actually be two separate pieces that could happen in parallel. And I keep thinking about that. I keep thinking about when we talk about business value, etc. The only business value is the actual UI, but that's a big dependency. It's a lot of work. It's not a tiny amount of work. This might take, in reality, if I was doing this, will I get this knocked out in 2 hours? Maybe. But should I be lumping them together? I don't know. But I'm going to do it for the purpose of the stream because I think it's more valuable to visualize. When I log in on the planning dashboard, it's here in bots. So consume the send to inbox command. Again, notifications should be the only one publishing that. There shouldn't be any other system publishing send to inbox. Or sending send to inbox. Send to inbox command. Store the message. So store the message, and then what else would there be there? Build a dashboard screen. What do we want as an inbox? Intercom, Slack? No, not Slack. Like, if you're thinking about these types of messages, like this isn't an actual email. This is a, hey, by the way, something happened. What's your go-to? What do you expect to see? I'm calling it an inbox because it is a messaging inbox. Like that. Latest. No date. 3 hours, 4 hours. Okay, so we're doing the time thing there. Active and done. That's not bad. That's not bad design, is it? You suddenly moved to Antarctica. I thought you said it was hot over there, and you're sitting there in a hoodie. It's Taylor. Taylor. There you go. Taylor. There's your treat. It's actually not too bad, this one. It's in the low 70s. Ah, there we go. There's the daily. No, it's in the low 70s. I just put this on because I was up at 4 a.m. So I was a bit cool with the fans on and stuff. Like we don't turn the fans off, so it's blowing the air all the time, and then it can get a bit cool overnight. I kind of like this one. Readable layout, red, unread style, slider. I don't know about invite your team, but yeah, I kind of like this style. By the end of the stream, I'll be too warm. So, so build a dashboard screen, consume the message, store the message. Create. We're going to need to create a view. That view is going to be the joining of the data. So because and again, this is where having a UI UX process would help me, right? Going to one lines style of like building out that design, that could help me a lot here, but I just I don't have the attention span or the energy to do it, if I'm being very honest. I'd get too bored of that process because it's just not somewhere where I feel unproductive when I'm not feeling capable of something. So, or rather, I'm feeling distracted easily. So, this is where having that UI UX process would actually help, because what we'd say is, okay, well, here's what we want to display. So the view is we're gonna say the type. So planning item. I'm not should be able to show the type, the who, the when, and the title of the planning item. Yeah. Okay, so let's take them. Oh, nice. Okay, let's do that. Okay. So let's do this. Check out that. Let's update that. Sorry, what, doing its job well? Okay. Make sure we build and run. So again, the message I'm trying to consume here is the hello from Australia. Wow. Oh yeah, it's July. Congrats, Star Raven. Wow. Are you settling in? Whereabouts in Australia, by the way? I think I've asked that before, but Brisbane. Okay. Nice. That's exciting. A new beginning. It's scary moving countries. All the cultural differences, the subtle differences that you get to start to see. Settling is doing pretty well. Already bought a car. Trying to set up tax numbers, Medicare, etc. Nice. Oh, congratulations. It's this housing situation is brutal. Yeah, it's it's the middle of winter for you as well. There, that's exciting. Congratulations. Actually, the year right now. Yep. When my brother and I went, we went to Melbourne, and we went in June or July, and they're all walking around in coats, and me and my brother were like, "No, still shorts and t-shirt." 4 years. Nice. Well, really happy for you, man. Like, it's exciting to, like, having moved a country. It's a challenge. I did it in 3 months. I didn't have to wait 4 years for it. I decided and moved in 3 months, but it's still quite a challenge to uproot yourself and change everything you know, and you know begin again almost. So it's awesome. Okay, so let's get this branch understood. Ship my glass cost that piece of case and suitcase and nice, nice. That's a bonus. T95, T95. Consume inbox, consume and display inbox. That's cool. Okay. Yeah, that's what I was going to show. I need to bring up RabbitMQ 15672. I need to create a dashboard, like a tracking panel of some form. Boreum guy, hello, how you doing? My apologies for not being around at the end of your stream yesterday. I was working, unfortunately, and getting distracted. Heading out for a bit, gotta make a call before bed. Might stop back in, but if not, see you next time. So, Raven, thank you very much for coming and hanging out. And once more, congratulations. That's fantastic to hear. So have a great one. Befa. Yeah, that work thing, it's kind of tricky. RabbitMQ, yes. So in my application, I'm using RabbitMQ for service bus. So I'm using MassTransit over RabbitMQ to do service bus commands, right? So sometimes within the application, within an individual component of the application, mediator works, right? It does all the messaging internally. When it needs to publish data out, it has two ways. It has an event, which is Kafka, i.e. integration, right? This data is available, right? So it's more of a broadcast of here's the information. There's no intent behind that message other than here's to the wider system, here's the data I'm sharing. If I need to do something, if I need to tell something to invoke something, then I'm going to use service bus. So I can use Kafka for both. I could use service bus for both. I could use service bus events where I'm using Kafka. But I think that using the different technologies allows me to have a clearer separation of the behavior and an understanding of them. And it's not that much more management, right? Those two processes are not they are scalable. They can manage all the messaging, and I should be okay. Um, so the notifications piece, I'm using MassTransit with RabbitMQ I'm going to send an inbox message, and the view is going to be the consumer of that command right this second. So I'm just checking on the message. Yeah, so this is the actual content, right? So I've got the unique identifier. This will allow me, if I somehow manage to receive the message again, I could actually validate that I didn't receive it already, so I don't need to update it. I have a dog chewing a set of crinkly carrot leaves, toy carrot leaves behind me. So we have a target. So this is again intended to indicate, here's the thing that changed, and by the way, here's the identifier of the thing, and then who you are, right? Because this is going to go into a global table, and then who sent it, who was responsible for making the change. Not, yeah, because this is not necessarily, this could be anything. Ultimately, it could say the reason for change, because there might be other reasons why you get a message in bots. But right now, we're trying to build out the workflow rather than worrying about the actual the refinement of this solution. Okay, so we need to go to view. Here we go. So these receivers here are Kafka consumers. I call them a receiver because they are the consumer, but they basically receive the event and pass it through. So I'm kind of referring to that as a receiver. Also, MassTransit has consumers as well. So I'm going to get in a world of, but it is a consumer. I could call this receivers, I suppose. Yeah. Let's start to differentiate here. It's a challenge because the technology underneath is consumer, but they both have consumers because they're both functioning in a similar design. But as long as I'm consistent here, I should be able to handle that, right? So this is Kafka. But then if I have, we'll come back around to that. Hey, Delta, how you doing? View infrastructure consumers. And that's not what I want that to be. Hold on. Let's try that again. That's that. View infrastructure consumers. So this saves me from doing that. Being that I call them receivers anyway. Because the thing I didn't want to do here, and this is obviously, this is a challenge. If you have a technology and it presents something and you're kind of wrapping that technology, right? So the receiver has internally created a consumer and then dispatched and then allowed it to receive this message, right? So this is actually the result of the consumption, not the actual consumer itself. So I didn't want to call this a consumer because it's not a consumer, it's the receiver of that event, right? So if I differentiate these as receivers, so the consumer layer is wrapped, right? The Kafka consumer layer is wrapped. Then is that okay? And then if I call these, so these are receivers to Kafka and these are consumers of Service Bus. I could be skating on really thin ice there in terms of understanding. But as long as I'm consistent, I can come back around and change it later. Save the date. .NET Conf, focus on AI, August 20th. No. Hey, Mojo. How's it going? Oh, also, I need to remember I have access to this. So this is a site that has, hey, beard meat. Why is beard meat's food? Okay. This is a site that has got a bunch of case studies on UX. And I have access to this because I'm a Mobbin subscriber. So they have all sorts of like breakdowns and stuff. So yeah, I need to start remembering I've got access to this. Sorry, I was just watching a video with him this morning eating a large breakfast. So that is beard meat's food. Yeah. Built for Mars. So there's free access to 100 ones. So yeah, get 6 months free right now. So no credit card required either. So you don't get billed in 6 months and think, well, why am I getting billed $8 a month, £8 a month? Oh, it's British. So, but yeah, built for Mars. I get a free pro account because I'm a Mobbin subscriber, I believe. I swear we just talked about not just signing up for things. We may have had a conversation. But you know, reframing, creating your hub. Yeah. After yesterday's A11Y issues, I'm tired. We had a conversation about this exact subject. Maybe, but it is free. There you go. So you can bookmark it. Anyway, um, what was I on that tangent? I was on a tangent for something there. Um, I probably saw an email. So yeah, I'm going to start differentiating because again, right now there's only the service bus consumers in there. That could be renamed consumers, right? If I do it that way, it's a little easier to digest. And then consumers and receivers are separate. So I keep Kafka down to receivers because again, I'm adapting the consumers. These are not consumers. These are the end result of the consumer. They create a consumer underneath, but they are not consumers. So let's keep it that way for right this second. And again, consistency will decide. And as I've just shown, uh, change it later. Let's get app settings in here. Okay, MassTransit. Going back, understanding configuration and settings later. you know, I don't want to be doing this all the time, right? So, but for right now, guest is easier than some complicated password there to remember. So what we need here is let's follow the same pattern, consumers. So the command side of this from notifications, right? We go to processing changes, we send a send to user inbox command. So this is a send to user inbox consumer. And the way we set that up is we have something like this. And that's a nice service collection. Reference that. Yeah, reference that. And then this one, that's the publisher, right? Yeah, I need to rename that receivers. I'm already confusing myself. And then in here, this service bus configuration, this is more appropriate. Let's do this. And then send to user inbox consumer, right? That's an that is an iConsumer. Okay. That's it. That's the command. That's referencing commands. Okay. Let's do some let's do some actual parts here. Microsoft extensions hosting. How did I do this before? Maybe MassTransit. Maybe that sets it running. So that probably adds a background service. So one of the things I didn't even consider before is this runs and sits there waiting in the receiver side when I'm doing the Kafka thing. The um, the Kafka piece has a basic worker service that sits looping, right? Maybe I don't need to do that. Basically, what you can do is if you want to override the behavior, so if you wanted to implement a debug version or you wanted to track when consumers were started, etc., this basic worker service just injects yeah, adds a worker service, and the worker service is literally just it takes an iConsumer collection and runs through them and starts them up. You could actually interject, you could actually replace that out by just implementing an um, iConsumer service or whatever. Okay, so we're going to copy and paste just because it's okay. So view infrastructure consumers post add. We don't need Kafka in this one. We do need Service Plus. We will need database in a minute. We will need that. Okay. Okay. So let's talk about this. So this is going to live in the view database. So it's okay for this to have that. Right. Let's do some refactoring just to align this a bit. And yes, I know I'm doing a lot of stuff. I'm pretty confident that I'm not going to break. So what we're going to do is take that, put that in there, turn services. Services, add database. I think I need to pass host context in there. That version. That is a host builder context. How do you not have get connection string? Yeah, there you go. Kafka configuration. Add Kafka, this iService collection. Services, host, builder. There's no interface there, by the way. I did check. Host context. Yep, it needed host context. Certain services. So this is just to tidy this up so we can get to you know, don't forget to hard code your HTML into. Sometimes you make a choice and you're not necessarily thinking about the future. And in this instance, I'm actually promoting that, right? Not that what you're talking about, but it's kind of it's the problem that comes with it, right? Oh well, we can fix this later, and then it never gets fixed. But you can't. You're told, especially with unit testing, you're told Yagni, right? You know, don't write code you don't need. Write what you do need at the time you need it, and be able to adapt it. And to some extent, or in a lot of ways, I'm actually following that, right? I'm not doing a lot of things, especially with this piece right now. I'm not trying to overcomplicate the notifications piece. I'm trying to figure out the workflow, see if it works. Some of this you might consider a little bit of prototyping. Now I know that there will be a version here because I need this capability. but it does mean that I might have to change a lot of this later. I might have to let's say this goes, you know, let's say this goes live next month, right? There's a lot of things in here that I probably want to go back and fix. Should I have spent weeks working on them? And again, I'm a little constrained because I'm doing it on stream, and if I want people to come in and hang out and talk about stuff on the stream, I can't be doing long, tedious pieces. It's just not gonna. People will just disengage, right? Some people say you store your secrets in secret JSON. Others build frameworks around it. Some use password managers, while even fewer, but very few, need store it directly in CS. What framework do you use for C#? Hi Zeph, how you doing? What frameworks? I mean, I assume you mean like web framework. Because right now there's a whole lot of frameworks in here in this application. If we're talking about messaging, if we're talking about APIs, if we're talking about, yeah. Puppy visitor. Yeah, little pup. Yeah. So, so they never think to check that. Oh dear. Let's do this. Service bus configuration. And here I'm taking a step to do some. This is not a class. This isn't something I'm actually actively working on, but I'm taking this step because I think it's a good refactoring, and it also helps me understand the other pieces. Add message bus, and I'm not calling it add MassTransit, by the way, because that's something internal, and this will hide it. Let's do that. Oh yeah, that's why. Add service bus. That's why I called that add service bus, because I'm kind of combining the two. What's that actually? Add message bus. Okay, that was add message bus. Also, do you know any framework for C#, specifically game framework, like obfuscation? Yeah, Godot. Yeah, we've been doing we have done some Godot on stream. Lately I've just stopped doing this for a little while because I really need to get some focus made on this. But yeah, Godot does not like going to a different screen, by the way. So this all looks tiny because it actually opened on a bigger screen. But yeah, we had see if this builds straight out. Yeah. So we'd been working on this on stream, this little game, just to kind of practice. And yeah, it's on hold right this second because I really need to keep my brain focused on this because it's going to hurt. That's why. There you go. That's better. Return services. I even called it add service bus. It's bundled into our hat. Yeah, the whole putting the public keys inside the CSS bundle is I'm not sure. But anyway, yeah, I'm making this change because it's useful right this second, right? A, I've renamed this to receivers, and B, I've Um, so rename consumers view to receivers. Kafka equals receivers. Service bus equals consumers for right this second. Again, this is not a decision I can't go back on. This is not a decision I can't change. But right now, I have an abstraction around Kafka consumers that I refer to as receivers just to split them out and not have any confusion over what they are. I don't have that abstraction over service bus consumers. So consumers versus receivers, and they're both underneath called consumers. So I'm making that decision to make my improve my ability to glance and know which piece I need to go to. Right. And refactoring that is just a good step to do in line with everything else that I've been doing. So yeah. Okay. So service bus configuration, we're going to need that database configuration in a second. So we might as well copy that in there. I already did that for me. Okay. Your infrastructure. Right. After work. Good luck on. Delta, have a great day. Framework core.SQL Server. Yes, Zeph, if you're still around. I would say I've tried Unity, I've tried Unreal, I've tried, so Unreal, obviously not C Sharp. I've tried Godot. There are a few other frameworks around for C Sharp development. But I think if you were going to pick it up, I would go Godot because it uses the latest features of the language, whereas Unity is still dragging behind on that part. So if you're looking for code samples, if you're looking for how to do things and you're looking for newer techniques, then Godot will be much easier, I feel. Okay, so let's go in here and we can add database. That's there. Again, we've kind of got that structured. It's a copy and paste. At some point, I'll probably end up with view infrastructure shared and share these pieces. I almost started trying to learn game dev on stream. I want to do more game dev. It was actually a really popular thing to do on stream. Um, um, on YouTube, those videos, the VODs have 3 or 4 times more views than any other video on this content. But I'm not chasing that, right? I think it's interesting. I'd love to do more. I'd love to make my next attempt at game dev about the game I want to build, right? But again, I can't say, hey, I'm going to spend 2 days a week doing game dev and 3 days a week doing my major project, and then um, um, it, it's I'm not going to get the right balance, right? I'm not going to. I'm either going to be distracted by one or the other at any one time, and I can't balance that, especially with this being such a labor of love. I want to produce something here, and having people say, "Hey, I think this could help," is drastically. Not drastically. It is motivating. Knowing that what I'm building could actually do what I'm actually trying to achieve and help people. So yeah, the point that I code for fun while some people code to support themselves hit me hard. Yeah, I mean, to me, I've always maintained it as a hobby as well as a job. Sometimes they've overlapped, and the job benefits from the hobby, and the hobby benefits from the job. More often, the job benefits from the hobby than vice versa. Because my energy, passion, and ability to unlock um, is unlock options is, you're less constrained because the company has monetary concerns. Is game dev more OOP focused? I get confused a lot when trying to make classes, but that's because our code base looks like functional programming. Is game dev more OOP focused? To some extent, yes. The problem with the problem I find is that when I'm building an application, so let's say we go from here. I have an entry point to my application, right? I have some things that need to be done, right? I know that there's a service running in the background that's going to receive things. So I know there's a line. There is some, hey, things know about other things, but ultimately this is the only thing I know about, right? I'm told here's your sender implementation, right? That's handed to me as um as a dependency of mine. I've said, hey, I care about this, by the way. So when you create me, give me this. And then I do my job and I hand off to something else. So in this case, I'm going to do sender.send, add new inbox message or whatever. Um, the with game dev, the dependencies are a little blurrier. Like so, like in the Godot game, right? I had um bullets and aircraft and enemies and whatnot, and things know about each other in weird ways. So you end up creating like, oh well, how do I know I've been hit? Well, I need to know about this thing, and I need to know about that thing, and I need to know has this thing. So there's manager classes, right? There's god classes, which Canny still maintains. You can get away from using god classes. God classes being basically static classes that manage everything, right? They have access to the scoreboard, they have access to the enemies, they have access to the player, they have access to everything, and you can reference them if you need access to something. Um, so yes, a little bit more OOP, but in the same breaking all the concepts that we try and build when we're building software like this. So to me, it breaks my brain a little bit. Yeah, so let's get this part working. Don't like this updating. Let's get a commit done. Um, that's the new one. New infrastructure receivers. I can also put it this way. When Rider tells me a class is never initialized, I'm never sure what I should do. Kind of like how you saw that class full of constants. Next for a multiplier. Yeah, constructors too. How goes it? Mr. Anhorn, it goes pretty well. We're going to make some progress today. How are you? How's your week going after that release? Get these reps in. Uh, the Rider telling you things are never initialized. Well, Rider gets confused. Um, should probably rename that as well, didn't I? Tests, view infrastructure, receiver. receivers, tests. Let's make sure I made that distinction as well, otherwise it's going to go bad. Amend that commit. Fault a bug in a library yesterday. Now Dino's why our synthetic monitor was alerting all night. So good. Just great. Oh. Um, add structure for consuming service bus messages. This month only has 2 days left. It does, yes. Also, I have a day off on Monday, so Monday's stream will be longer. It's our August day off. Yeah, the company I work for has, if you don't have a holiday in a month, a federal holiday in a month, 1 day gets given up off. So you always have 1 day off every month. Which I think is actually a really good idea. It's from a mental health perspective, I kind of like it. My work is about to ramp up with school starting. It's funny you're both in education adjacent fields, right? Mr. Anholm, memory serves. That's for consuming service bus messages. The reason I paused there, by the way, not just because I was talking, is I am thinking about the scaling. Like my receivers stuff, I've built structure before to basically say, okay, create an instance of this and run just this and this and this. Pardon me, I don't have that luxury in this. That might be something I have to test at some point. I mean, I'm a long way away from being able to say, you know, load test the system and put tens of millions of messages through and seeing how it crawls to a halt, right? I'm a long way from that. Gained notifications and communications like receivers consumers appropriately represent their usage. No, consumers equals service plus, almost the same thing. That's an indicator. Nice green platform here. Next, we'll go through review season where our clients for select applicants for scholarship money. Nice. Those seem like industries or verticals that are relatively limited in scope in terms of growth, other than expanding the number of school systems and um, institutions that you actually process. But there's not much growth in terms of other products you can offer, or because you're kind of specialized, I suppose. Gotcha. Grants and scholarships. Okay. Okay. So let's get this. So the reason I paused there is I was going about. So I'm going to call this integration, right? These are all about integration, right? Oh yeah. Now these are all integration concerns. I don't need folders for these things. It's ridiculous to have folders for these things. I don't even like having a folder called DTO, but never mind. Yeah, that's all empty. So let's do that. That's much nicer now because that's integration, right? I don't need folders for them. There's nothing more technical towards them. Anything that awards money can technically be plugged into our platform. Hmm. I don't think they call that an award. Woohoo, I won a prize. I got paid this month. I'm going to move them in there because they're all going to be integration specifications, right? They're all going to be related to that. And this is all going to be acquiring entities. That's an interesting one. Because that might be something I want to do in this piece. So we're going to leave them acquiring. Okay, so let's now talk about custom to the university. We were rebuilding the platform, and that will probably be our route to the next iteration. So a notification is sent, right? That message looks like this. Identify a target. So we have that message. We want to consume the send to inbox command. This is the part we're talking about, right? So kind of have that done almost because they're kind of the same thing. But anyway, create view. So one thing I don't need to do in this thing here is actually be concerned about the way it's going to look. I just need to be concerned with what I need to store to try and get that information as quickly as possible. So notifications is going to publish. We probably need to back up notifications as well. So that's more of an outbox. But anyway, what do we call this? User inbox. I'm going to call it an inbox on the screen. So I think it's right to call it the inbox. Is there a difference between a user inbox and another inbox? I don't think so. If I was doing messaging from this, maybe, but so I think it's just inbox. That user is redundant. Nice. You can just add a primary key without actually adding a field. New column, ID. I'm going to make this a big int. I want to make sure that I allow for people to leave lots of data in there. Mojo has a class file that would make you cringe as well, Mr. Anho. As I know you are someone who makes pretty small class files as well. Okay. So identifier. So this is the message identifier coming in. Unique queue identifier, not null. We don't need index on that. We need what do we need there? Okay, line class. So, yeah. That's the biggest C# class I have ever seen. Outside of auto-generated code. Some EDMX stuff was terrifying. Yeah. What do I need in this table? I need in this table. I need so one thing I'm contemplating is if I actually use the acquire pattern here, then if the user doesn't actually exist in this system yet, the notification is still going to happen, essentially, but it's going to have no one to tell, which doesn't make sense. So if I store user ID, recipient ID here, then yeah, but now we don't have to flick through files. It's honestly more efficient. Just upgrade the CPU. I could have some fun with that class. I know full well I could. Sorry. Challenges of sleeping with this silly machine. So we have a recipient. Let's add a sender ID. Yeah, I'm gonna use acquire for these. And that way the table structure is intact and I have the GUIDs. It shouldn't need it, but it will work. Okay. So what we determined was that this system is going to be responsible for the actual content of these messages. The actual notification system is responsible for triggering the fact that there should be a notification and on this thing, and ultimately it will be down to this system to figure out what changed. I'm still fighting the urge to refactor. I finally have deadlines and expectations of me now. Yeah, fight the urge. You don't need to get into that well of despair. Yeah, meet deadlines. Actually, that I think it was on Satellite's stream last night, yesterday afternoon, whenever I was watching that. I think it was Cat said of Satellite's something about setting deadlines on things, and it got me thinking about how I need to focus my energy on this project because I'm making good progress. But in reality, I would be given a deadline for this project. So should I work towards setting, because I can't remember what the exact phrase was, but ultimately it was, yeah, a project without a goal is just a dream or something like that. It was something, I don't know if it was a quote or um yeah, I'm not sure. But ultimately the thing is I probably need to set some actual milestones for this project. Now that I've got to a good point, I probably need to set some milestones. I've been kind of holding these sprints, but I'm not really holding to the sprints, right? I'm not making the choices I would make, and maybe that's because of the time I have to dedicate to this. It can be a go without a plan is just a wish. Maybe it was that. Um, but ultimately, it's I have a general idea, I have a general direction, and I'm building software here. I am actually producing something that I think is um, it's something I am very proud of so far. I think it is a good representation of what I can do. Um, However, without some firm deadlines, I'm just going to keep going on and going on and going on and going on, right? Because I can keep adding all manner of features. So maybe I need to set some short to medium term goals as to what I need to achieve by a certain point. The challenge with that is accountability. I'm holding myself accountable, but there's no consequence, right? So I need to figure out that path, right? Because it might help me. It might help me set some targets, and um, maybe I promote that in stream a little bit more. Maybe I make the stream my my guidance. But yeah, I was thinking about the deadlines and expectations, right? Um, that can't be null. That's a type string. It's not an entity. It's not a. This is not a type string. It is a category as such. It's categorization as such. Mm. Entity type is correct because there is an identifier, and that identifier will link to that thing. I don't want to do anything fancy with, like, I could have an entity identifier and do planning item slash whatever, but then I'd have to build that out as well. So we'll come back around on that as a design. Not null. Everything's pretty much not null in this. Um, Now we get to the actual messages. They added, not null. They read, that's nullable. And what else do I need there? That they're going to benefit from an index. Let's go with that for right this second. scripted DDR. Refactor. Move. Update methods. Update commands. To integration folder. Rather than all in there, all in folders. Not that. Doesn't really matter. Let's move that. Let's have the script. The view 09. What's this called? This is called inbox.sql. Add script inbox. Again, calling this a user inbox, calling this a anything other than an inbox is unnecessary. It's kind of implicit. There's only the inbox. If there was a different type of inbox, then obviously we can revisit that later. There's no harm in refactoring that or overthinking that. As he talks about it for multiple times. And other side. Okay. So let's go and get those pieces in there. So we need an inbox. That's a interesting name. I don't often come across it. It's this. This is an instance where the table that I'm going to get the collection from and the entity that I'm talking about do not align. So I'm trying to represent a concept, not a. No, I'm trying to represent a concept as a table. Huh. We'll get to view afterwards. That's not an inbox. What inbox has no value there. It's an inbox message. Interesting. And it's not unavoidable, right? I can still do that. It's just I don't often come up against it where the data table that I'm actually using doesn't necessarily match the model that I'm trying to put int ID, like period identifier. Public period, public int recipient ID. I think I will commit to using the acquire. I think the acquire works okay for this. Int sender ID. Did I misspell that? Oh, of course I did. Recipient. Yep, that would be misspelled. Let's see, identifier. That's gonna squelch that for a minute, but it's gonna have, yeah, public date time. It added That's nullable. If you're new to the stream, by the way, and you have any questions, please feel free to ask. It doesn't necessarily have to be a coding stream. If you have questions about the design, the coding, the practices, the tool, the actual product itself, you're more than welcome to ask. Okay, so we have that in the update repository, update context. So in this instance, I actually have two contexts. The reason being the update context is the thing that the application, that the integrations use to store the data. The view itself will never use the update context. It will only use the view context. So in here, I configure the view context, and the view context, it can use tables still, it doesn't have to do, but ultimately I have these views configured for these things. And the reason being, the GraphQL layer can query these messages, this table. So I can optimize this for GraphQL and then expose a, so as far as the view database, the view context is concerned, it still talks about planning items. Now it's talking about planning item view, right? This planning item is in the view thing. So it's talking about something completely different. But it does mean that I can actually keep read and write separate in some respects. And yes, you can make an updatable view. I wouldn't want to, but you can do. And it allows me to keep these things separate. And I can still talk about planning items here and planning items here and not have, it's pretty obvious which one I should be working with. So we need to add inbox, public db set, inbox message, inbox set, inbox message. It's interesting because the collection is the inbox. But it'd be tempting to put inbox messages on there. But then they're just messages. I'd be interested to know if anyone in the chat has an opinion on this part, by the way. If you have an opinion, let me know. I'm proceeding with it, but again, it is what it is. But okay, so the consumer here, we've got a data model set up. We've got a, configure domain infrastructure, storing messages into inbox. Because you could argue in that respect, I'm kind of blending behavior and data at that database level. Okay, so that's that. So now our application needs to receiving inbox, receiving messages, receive inbox message, public record, and so it has a GUID identifier, a GUID recipient ID identifier. What did I call them? Oh yeah, a GUID sender identifier. On this side, they're identifiers. They're identifiers because they're GUIDs. They are not the internal ID, which I will acquire as part of this receiver, of this receive. String entity type, GUID entity identifier, date time sent on. It's an I command, and it returns a result. And public class handler, I command handler of and result. Okay. Again, the sealed I have to verify. I want to see this, so I keep doing it to remind myself. So yeah, one day I'll test it. And if you've tested it, I would like to know. It is said that there is performance difference between a sealed class and a non-sealed class. And obviously, as I'll be wanting to ring every single piece of performance out of a little AMD box. Test this application. It will matter. Okay. Again, unit tests. I'm not trying to be ignorant of the fact that unit tests exist here. I'm just trying to be pragmatic for the purpose of getting stuff done on stream. I do have to come back and do tests, but again, that's the sort of thing that can come back and bite me. The saving grace here is these receivers, these pieces of code I'm writing, and most pieces of code I'm writing are pretty small pieces that will have few direct bugs. And if they do have any bugs, they'd be found pretty quickly in testing. So yeah. So this is going to need an iRepository of inbox message repository. And this is going to need, we need a sender. Sender. So let's say sync var recipient. I don't know why I want to put D on there, but I do. Sender.send new acquire user command dot recipient identifier session token. Var sender equals await. Oh no. New acquire user dot command dot sender. I'm talking in messaging terms. I'm going to keep that as sender. What this will give me is an ID back, right? So this is actually recipient ID and sender ID. It's actually a result, but I don't, if it's basically if recipient ID or not sender ID dot is success, throw new that's what I want to happen, right? If these two fail to do what they're going to do, then I want to throw up, because these should be pretty simple. These don't have a failure path necessarily. So if these can't do what they need to do in a very simple way, then the system is broken and I don't want to proceed. So throw an exception. I don't want to store more information about it. And also that would stop that message from being acknowledged, I think. Anyway, await repository add. Let's just do this. New inbox message. So the way this was, identifier equals command.identifier, sender ID, recipient ID equals recipient ID. It will be able to cast to that type implicitly. So even though it's a result, it will actually cast to its internal type. So I can do that. It makes readability. I feel that, because again, I just care about the value. So if I validate that they're successful, then I've got a value there. So it's fine. Entity type equals command.entity type. Entity identifier equals command.entity identifier, and date added equals DTU. Translation token. So that's the bare minimum, right? So again, tests, etc., are going to become part of this. I do need to do more there, but that's ultimately what we're going to do. And then here, I'm going to await sender.send new receive inbox message command. That's going to be context.message. If context.message that's redundant, it's always true. There you go. That's better. Message dot identifier, message dot message dot, oh no, message dot recipient, message dot target dot type, message dot target dot identifier. Inconsistent there. Oh, context dot cancellation token. So if the message is valid, we have an actual message there. Let's make sure sent at. If you've added date added there, do I want to track that differently, or do I want to set that to be? Because if I send a message and it's sent and received 3 days apart, technically it was received. The added was now, but it actually was sent 3 days earlier. It's probably something I want to know. That would help me diagnose synchronous. That would help me diagnose would it? I think I'm gonna try date added versus yeah. Wait, date time, date sent. We're gonna add that in. Date sent. It would help me visually identify in this table alone. Do I see? Did I get the message at a different point, and it's only just been added to the system? So there's a name, and I can't think of the name. New column, date sent, date time. Not more. In MySQL, you can actually reorder these, and you can insert before or add column before or after. You can't do that in SQL Server. SQL Server, so that's why I put it in the script. So when I deploy it again, it will be valid, but right now it's not. Date sent equals command dot sent. Sent that. Actually, sent on. Sent on makes more sense, but whatever. Does its job. Okay, so I should be able to might be able to get this done. Where's that notifications? View. Why is there no? That's the receivers. They're all consumers of some form, but yeah. View service bus infrastructure consumers. I have so many projects running in this thing. That might be all that's required. So our database, we're going to create the update DB context because this again is this side of it is the update side. The view side is only ever going to use the view DB context because it's only going to use the view. What we want to do here is see the two messages get put into the queue. Unit testing. I probably want to unit test. Okay, do I have a message that is unread about this thing? Because if I make 13 changes to the same object, do I want 13 messages here? Who's responsible for dealing with that deduplication? Like, it would probably be better at the notifications level to say, okay, no, I've got, a bunch of them to send. Don't send all of them, just send one. So we could constrain the notification side. But again, the notification side right now is reactive. It's just going to send what it's told to send. So if I do it that way, then I've got to introduce infrastructure on the notification side. On this side, I can say, oh, for this recipient, do I have an unread message for this thing? Yes, I do. Okay. But again, we're tracking the date sent, date added. So we know that we're going to get those messages. So is it, in Gmail, if you receive an email in a short amount of time, with the same sort of information, it kind of nests it. So you don't see 10 of them, you see one with a 10. Is that what we do? Do we show that there was 10 notifications and not show 10 notifications on screen? Again, for the same entity, entity type, and recipient, yeah. Let's worry about it when we need to get to that. So if I start that consumer up, does it run? Nestifications. But you see what I mean? From a usability perspective, it seems that that is kind of necessary to consider. It's, oh, throw them with the messages in it. Send user inbox because I copied this send user registration invitation. Idiomatic, I suppose, is the right term. Topic queues is going to be its own thing. So here, send to user inbox configuration, kebab case endpoint formatter. I did not name the format, the big dot. Um, 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 So the challenge with this piece is I haven't got the so the message is sent to user inbox. So it created a thing called send to user inbox. On the notification side, when I actually created it, which is not receivers. Oh, it is in receivers because it receives the change. In here, I configure it to send user inbox. I map it to that. Can I do that on the other side? I don't know. Then I don't need that. Will this work? Nope. That created another queue. It creates that top. That mapping does not work the same way I think it should work. Right. So that works fine, but we don't have an endpoint convention for the consumer. MassTransit, rabbit MQ, and configure endpoint mapping for consumer. If I have to rename it, I have to rename it, but add consumer. It seems like I should be able to say consume from. That's the annoying thing here, right? Use like there's other options, right? Retries, etc. I can probably use message retry. Like endpoint configuration. Set queue name for job consumer. See, there's that way. Receive endpoint. Right. So I could do configure.receive address. That's in service instance. Not in there. Yeah, see that changes the behavior there. So receive endpoint. Send user inbox. Let's delete this one just to make sure I get rid of it. Send user inbox. Send user inbox. I think I need to specify queue there. Configure. What do they have in that? What do they have in that? And also, this is in GitHub, so this might not actually be what I want. Endpoint.configure consumer. Yeah. That's not generic, I don't think. Context. CFG. Ambiguous invocation. So that's not. It's not valid. Okay, that is valid. So that's per consumer, and that's per endpoint configuration for retries. It really wants to be that way. Okay. I don't like that, but whatever. Endpoint. Oh, it really wants it that way. Okay. I control KD all the time. So if I keep fighting that, I'm just going to end up with that in that way. Consumer configurator. There you go. At least it's a little. Um, retry. There you go. Once JetBrains gets out of the way, right? It gets a little bit easier. Introduce field. Choose constant. Default consumer retry count. Extract method. Introduce field. Because it's time span. Okay, can't do that one. I like how that's called times. Let's label it as time span. Let's see if it just binds now. I don't know what configure endpoints is going to do there. Yeah, now it's going to break. The consumer type was not found. Okay. Don't think that's what I want to do. But yep. Okay, it's not a. Oh, I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot. You still need. I thought my design was wrong. I thought my design for this was wrong. I think that's necessary. So in my receivers, in my Kafka configuration, I have to make sure DI is there before I add the event receiver. I bet that's the same sort of thing. I'm actually making it available. Let's see if that works now. Still not working. I bet it created another. Doesn't use the names. I was hopeful that today we'd get to the point where we could say, oh, I mean, it's a Q name. I was hoping today we could get to the point and actually see the UI and have this work. But if I can get to the point where I've got it storing in the table, I think we can use our imaginations. It's fine. Oh, that looked like that might have actually done something. Oh, you're no fun. Unable to resolve. Add mediator. Oh, that would make sense. Being I don't have it. Oh no, add mediator. So it tried to do it. So all the pieces are there. Add mediators there. Let's make sure that's broken out from my stuff, right? So where does it go wrong? Does it go here? Consume filter. Unable to resolve service. Well, attempting to activate. So we tried to activate the consumer and it can't resolve iSender there. Have I got the wrong interface? No, mediator. Packages. Mediator abstractions. Oh. Don't think that's necessary, but we'll figure it out. Let's see. So this version of Mediator uses code generators. I don't think that's the problem. I think that's, yeah, that's not a problem. A big concern is that they go to the dead letter queue before. Unable to resolve service type for type mediator. That's that. That's that. Add mediator. You're there. You've got the database. You've got the service bus because the service bus configuration is taken. We know that much. This will come back around and afterwards. So we have that. We know we're receiving a message. Configuration. There's no extra stuff in there, right? All I've got is add mediator in there. I mean, that shouldn't be necessary because it's not receiving it before. So the ordering shouldn't matter at all. That's just a guess. So I don't like that. Refactor this. Yeah, no inconsistent namespaces. We don't have any weird references. View application, view domain, view infrastructure. That's fine. Application, domain, infrastructure, share kernel, MassTransit, publishing events. This should be commands rather than events. Yeah. Come on, we're so close. We get that received, get it in the database, then tomorrow we start the UI. And the story is done. But I mean, this is just yet another example of, things can go wrong. Things don't always work the way you expect them to. So when you're planning a story out, unless you plan down to the finest detail, you've done it a million times. It's just part of the process, right? It's the what, but I'm just can't. See, I do this all the time in inject. So why would that be a problem now? There's a configuration I'm missing somewhere, and I think it's caused by. I don't think that's packages. Kafka. I don't have any Kafka stuff in here, so that's right. Microsoft extensions. Hosting, Windows service we don't care about. The second SQL Server we've got. Mediator abstractions, MassTransit, RabbitMQ. I mean, that's That's not really going to hurt us. Just having an explicit package reference there, though, might be wiser. It was implied, it's being pulled by something else. Share kernel MassTransit publishing events and commands. Why do we need events and commands there? Assemblies, right. Implicit assemblies. Ooh, that's a lot of implicit assemblies. Receiver side. So the way that a MassTransit actually does it is it generates an add mediator command when you reference the library that has the command. So whereas with, and then it actually puts itself in the dependent. It actually looks like it's in the dependency injections namespace, because it builds that out as a method there. Because it has nothing to do with the actual command and handles library. So whereas with mediator, you end up having to say, okay, by the way, use this assembly reference for when you're doing it. It has that all built. Just because I have a reference to the command, it knows that. It can imply that. So I'm wondering if it's kind of not built correctly, or I've referenced another add mediator. No. Unable to resolve service type for. I don't understand why. Oh, shucks. Okay. Unfortunately, I have a job. I cannot spend all day doing this. I would love to figure this out and get this working. But we can use our imaginations again. We can imagine that it's going to inject a table. It's going to inject a record into that table. Tomorrow, I get the view side of this. So I build a view to join all this information together so that we can query, unfortunately, so we can query that data and then display on the client side. We can go in here and we'll have an inbox built out here. I think I used that thing that I saw before as kind of a reference, and it'll show the messages that we have. The idea being that when you click on one of these things, it's going to take you to the dysfunctional as well. Yeah, it's going to take you to the actual planning item itself. That may get us down into a detail page version of planning items, but then on there we'll eventually add the changes. So we're gonna have to consume all the changes and display them. This is where the application starts to open up now, right? I've got to the point with the application where I can't avoid massive pieces of work to add value to the project. So that's why I focus as much on getting here. So let's go raid Memsworth, Emporium guy. He's sat there quietly listening to all sorts of music. Let's keep him on let's keep him on track. And yeah, we'll I'll resume tomorrow. We'll get the view done and we'll get the actual UI started to build out, and then we'll get to be able to see these things happening in hopefully real time. That's the goal. To hook into the chart. So okay, guys, thank you very much. Take care. Have a great rest of your day, and let's go show some love to Emporium guy. Take care. See you later. I'm not even going to put the ending screen up because I don't have a stream deck yet. I'm worth. Okay.